Today on Corey Craft, we're going to be taking care of these cherry trees that I've had in these pots for now. Let's see, this is first year, second year, 3 years maybe now. And I just have them in simple planter soil, nothing fancy. And we're going to go ahead and transplant them into these simple little terracottas. I have some various sizes. But first off is get a soil mix. So I'll plant these into a bonsai so the growth starts slowing. You can see I've been working on the ramifications year after year, just simply by, for example, right here. This is a good example. This is the new growth. And so what I would do is just come and pinch this new growth off right here. Pinch this new growth off right here so that it bifurcates. And so everything, like this branch here, has a bifurcation going up. It gives me this plumage. And we'll continue to work it. However, I want to get them into nice pots so that the appearance is pretty as well. Not today, but sometime this year, I'll go through and I'll do branch selection as well. If you look here, I have just got a lot of branches at the top. I don't really have anything below. I've got this one below. I'm definitely keeping this one, but this needs to be thinned out a little bit. There are too many main branches at the top. And this is a really cool trunk line. I actually really like this trunk line. All right, so let's get to work. Let's get some soil mixtures. So let's do it like this. I've got my paint mixer, 5 quarts, and probably 200, you know what? Maybe 300 milliliters total is gonna be enough dirt, but I'll make 2,000 rather. And then, because we're going to actually downsize the pots, 2,000 is going to be more than enough. So let's go ahead and get some akadama. Start off with our base of akadama. I'm going to start out with a 50-50 mix of akadama. So let's go ahead and put 1,000. Boom. Look at that. That was pretty good. Okay, that's the akadama. Next up, some lava rock. I don't want too much lava rock. Because these are going into small pots, I actually want it to stay moist more, simply for aeration to get the oxygen in, but I don't want it to dry out, so I'm going to take it easy on that. That was probably too much. And sand. Actually, I'm going to go a little heavy on the sand. So what are we sitting at? We're sitting at 150. I'm going to get a 50-50 mix, a little less. I got a clay. This is similar to akadama. It's more like akashichi. Akashichi is like red clay. So I've got these giant stones. What I'm actually going to do, I'm not even bother breaking these and sift. I'm just going to take them out. Okay, I'll get this mixed up, and then we'll get these trees and we'll start bare rooting the trees. Okay, we're gonna call that good. I'm starting to make too much of a mess here. You see that on video? Okay. We'll start with these ones. These are all much smaller. You can see it's potting soil, and so it's actually really good for getting things to sprout and grow. However, the growth spurts on it, being potting soil, it stays matted. You can see how matted it is and how wet and gunky it is, so it's really susceptible to root rot when we're talking about bonsai stuff. However, you can see how large these leaves are. It provides too much growth in one spurt of growth. And so I need to slow that down this year and bring the tree into a state of being a pot-bound bonsai soil mix so that the growth becomes slower. The trunks are now formed, right? The main branch trunks are, for the most part, they're formed. They'll thicken up over time. We'll get the foliage to continue to bifurcate out. That whole thing is a weed. It's actually a really good time to do this. I can see that the roots are really falling off, which tells me that it's probably already started root rot. So while I have this open right now, I'm gonna examine the root and see if there is anything that needs to be removed as far as the roots go, right? And now that I've got all of this other root material out, which is probably some of the finer roots that fell off on top of the weeds, this root is the main down tap root. It went down all the way to the bottom of this pot, and then it started spiraling around and trying to figure out what to do. But there's no structure coming off of this. And so I'm gonna clip these two roots off entirely. I have two of these foliage clippers. One's dirty, I use specifically for the roots. The other's still fairly clean. So I'm gonna take this one down and I'm gonna clip it flat with the bottom of the tree. And then the same thing with the other one. I'm gonna clip it flat with the side wall of the tree because it's a sideways root. Okay, there we go. And so that's my first tree root mass exposed. I'm gonna put this tree outside because it's raining. It'll knock some of the dirt off and it'll continue to keep the roots moist. So I'll put that outside. This is one of my favorites right now. So check this out. The roots are coming through the bottom right now, which is great. This has some moss growing on it. That's good. It's got some weeds. I haven't kept up with de-weeding these. Not since they've been in these pots, at least it doesn't matter. But I can tell that this tree has really good root structure because it's pot bound really well. It's held the shape of the pot, and it's got the tap roots coming out the bottom as well. So this is a really strong tree. All of these trees are the same. They're acerola cherry trees. I have a larger potted acerola cherry that we get our cherries off of. I went ahead and took some of the seeds and sprouted trees. And so from seed, this actually might be third, fourth year from seed. Grown in the same pot. I've never changed it. I don't think, maybe some of these trees, I might have one or two over there that I haven't brought up to the table yet. That they may be 1 year older. Man, this is a tough. This one does not want to let go. There we go. All of that's going to come off. Same with this guy here. You can see how the root structure is actually pretty fine. None of these roots are this year's new growth white root, but the webbing structure is a very fine web. I got some main big balls in here that I'm gonna have to trip, like this one here. I could probably cut both ends of this just to get it out of the way. It wraps around the pot, and then we'll see where it takes us from there. Oh my goodness. Oh, I got it out. Okay. That's probably going to help us a lot to get it out. So right off the bat, I know that this is going to have to be in one of the larger pots, larger terracotta pots that I have, just because of the number one, the height of the tree, but two, the root system mass is far more developed. Branch clipper. Get in here. I'll just take this. Take it incrementally. Okay, I think that's enough. So a lot of these roots, because they were in the pot, have just simply wrapped around and around and around. You can see like this one here, right? Round and around and around, same as this. So I'm actually going to get rid of those. Not because I dislike them, but because it's going into a new pot and it will develop its own round and round root system as it grows into the new pot. Okay, that's good. All right, let's get this outside in the rain. So I've started derooting this tree. It's 2 trees that's been in the same pot. I'm gonna plant them in their own individual pot, give them their own room to grow so they don't have to compete with each other. You can see that one root is wrapped around the other tree. This is a mess, but that's why I'm doing it. That's why I'm doing this now. It's not really hot weather right now. It's still pretty climate. It's been raining. And so once I put these in the new soil, it'll be able to send some of the energy down and spread roots out. Cut all that off. I don't need none of that. Good English, huh? I don't need none of that. Wraps around. One of these trees is far stronger than the other, which is crazy because they look so similar. So this tree grew down and then it grew root back up and reached around the other one. I'm going to cut that whole root system off. That bulb has so much energy stored in it. See that? Got fat right there. And it reached up and it wrapped around the other tree right here. Gave it a little hug. I'm gonna clip the roots where they bend because they hit the wall of the previous. I'm gonna cut this whole thing. It's going straight down. There we go. Oh my goodness, that was a lot. Okay, that's it. Moving on. These are the 2 little bit larger trees. This has got a really cool look to it. It's got the clip mark here. This is going to end up being a big branch. I'm going to continue to let it grow. But it's starting to already have a really good canopy look to it. This one's just kind of crazy, but it's got a very wide canopy, and I think that this is going to be a cherry tree that's in its pot that has a very large canopy that sags down because of the weight. Reminds me of apple trees. This is much less root bound, I can tell already, just because of the size of the pot. However, I feel that it's got some massive, oh, that is cool. Check out this side root right here. That is a good look. Look at that. Okay, so this has to go into one of the bigger pots. Let's try to keep all the roots out of that as I can, as much as I can. And then it jets down. So the root comes out and then it jets straight down from there, really because it hit the sidewall. I got some larvae. I don't know what that is. I'm going to crush it though. Is that another one? That's another one. I'll feed that to the chickens. This has a really good root mass. Wow! Check this out. So the trunk comes down. Let's see if I can get this on camera. The trunk comes down and it hits the root mass here. The main trunk root branches off directly to a 90-degree turn, 90-degree turn down again, and 90-degree turn to the side, and then jets around the container's edge and ends up way over here. This is a very long root. I'm gonna have to cut all of that off. There's no sense in taking the dirt off of it. I'm gonna cut it all out. All right, so I've got this root. Good root structure here, good root structure here. I'll cut it right here. Okay, holy cow, look at that. Because I cut this big chunk off, I actually want to try to save as much of the smaller roots that I can. Okay, I'll try to keep all of that with the tree now, just so that it doesn't die back. That is cool. This big pot. And then this nice narrow pot. Guys sprouting out the bottom here. Oh my. So it came out the bottom and then back in right here. Forgot the nutrients were in there, but it locked it in. Hurrah! There it goes. You know something I don't know, cherry trees, I wonder if they want a neutral to a base soil, or if they want something that's you know, acidic. I have to start paying attention to that a little bit more. Obviously I'm not going to do it on this go around because I already mixed up my soil with akadama, so I'm going to go more neutral to base and river sand. Holy cow, there's so much webbing here, I'm just going to have to rip. Clip and rip. So all of this just goes around and around and around and around. You can see So really all of this is probably going to get cut off. Whew, look at that. That's nuts. I don't even think there's much soil in this. But this structure, these roots are really pretty right here. Gotta be careful, I don't want to break that branch. I can feel through poking it. I can't see it yet. There it is. There's a massive trunk, just like the others, trunk root. Wow, it's huge. I don't know what's going on here. All right, I'm gonna cut this off here and then I can see a little better. Wow, that is just yet more knots of root. That's what's gonna cause the explosion of growth right here. It's because there's so much reserved energy right there. I'm gonna cut more of this trunk off. I'm gonna cut it right here. I see a little opening right here. This is what's gonna do it in right here. It's probably a bad decision. Okay, I'm not gonna take any more roots off of that. Back to that. Holy cow. This is gonna be really pretty. Look at that. That's gonna be beautiful in a pot. Oh my God. That's incredible. I'm gonna go wash my hands and I'm going to get these trees ready for the pots. So I've cleaned up a little bit. I've washed the pots out. I want to say these used to have like succulents or something in them, but I've got a variety. I've got some medium cups, some little cups, haha, and then I've only got one of these large cup. And I think I've decided that large one is going to already be married to this tree. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is actually marry the trees to the particular size pot that I'm going to put it in. You can see here I cleaned the roots out as well. Now that I can see the root structure, I can actually see what needs to come off a little bit better, right? And so I'm going to take everything down that just doesn't need to be there, like that there, and that there. Leave the rest. I can't leave the rest. Doesn't fit. I'll have to get it to fit. It does fit, but only just barely, and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to take here, and then this may be good. Oops, I don't want to break that. Okay, so for this tree, got some smaller ones here. That may be good for this one. This may be a medium. This is a smaller one. That's pretty. This is probably more than definitely a medium. Oh, wow. Big root ball on that one, and another big root ball on this one. Let's see. Let's change this. This one here. This may be a little too small. We're gonna roll with that. Okay, here's my pots. Let's go ahead and start with the smallest. So I've got potting soil here. It's good enough. Stuff here. There we go. I want to fit it in there. I'm not going to wire this into the container, in case you're asking. In the past, I used to do like the little tree similar to this, but the pine, and I would wire it into the bottom. But what I found is it's pointless unless I was trying to sculpt the trunk line or the tree, the branch on these. It's not really needed. I don't see the need for it at this moment, actually. That's what I should say. And so I'm just going to leave it non-wired. And in the future, if I want to wire these, I can. But I'm going to continue to shape these through just trimming. Man, that looks good. Okay, let's get this outside. Another thing is, when I'm doing it, I need to look at the angle that I'm placing it in. I don't necessarily want a straight up tree, but having a straight tree isn't really a bad thing. Because it can always be changed later on, right? This is the first really bonsai mixed soil that it's going to be placed in. So this is only just the start of a pot. Probably next year I'll repot these into something that's more bonsai style. These are really cool. This turned out really well. I'm kind of blown away at how well these look. Okay. Okay, so this tree, I want the trunk line, I want this at an angle because I want it to grow out just because it's so cool. Right, generally if you're doing a potting thing, you strain your soil. I don't, people do. And you use the larger particles on the bottom, medium particles in the middle, and then you use your finer particles on the surface layer for presentation purposes. This one is a much larger one. I don't want it at too much of an angle. I think that's it right there. I don't want it at too much of an angle inside the pot because this pot is small. When I was in northern Japan, I took a bonsai class, and the way we were taught was to hold the pot just like this, so where we pinched the trunk between our fingers to hold it nice and tight, and we held the pot secure. We could dump it in the water to do the new soil mix, and then we can also pack in the new substrate here while holding the trunk down to the bottom of the pot, right? Because as I pack this in, the more rocks I push to the bottom, it's almost like the tree wants to float, right? It kind of pushes the tree up a little bit. It's not necessarily bad, you just don't want to push the tree out of the pot. And so this is a good method. And you notice if I take my fingers off, you can see all these rocks that have fallen, right? And a lot of them was just simply by, every time I poke and move, stuff falls out. And so by doing this little pinch method, things don't fall out as much. See, there's a lot of sand in this one, and that's fine. Actually, mostly the sand is on the top, so throughout time it'll work its way down. It'll also aerate, and really it'll just probably wash off the sides. Looks good, I like that. Stable. This one's pretty. This one has a natural bend to it, so I'm just going to place this trunk straight in. We'll wrap these roots down, get them in their natural angle, and then get some material in there. Trunk in the middle with the big cut mark that's healing over, exposed so that it's visible. Brings a lot of beauty. What I've done also is what is going on, what has happened is the trunk is off center, and it's off center to the direction that the tree is going. And so what this does is it opens up all of this negative space right here. It's one of the things that I really like looking at and studying, and the trees that I see are the branch structure that's taken life combined with the canopy appearance. And there's so many different types of canopies, but one of my favorite areas to look at is the usage of the space. What has been used compared with what has not been used, right? What intentionally has not been used. And a lot of times, like this branch, right? This tree will grow up and this branch will be a main branch, will come out, and then several years into its life, this branch will be removed. And there will be this big negative hole here. And when you're looking at a tree in nature, you'll find that things die off. The weather comes in, right? Where there's a drought and where there's a fire. And a tree builds character and shows a story of its life through the hardships, like here, of what it's been dealing with. This is what I'm talking about. As I push these rocks into the bottom, it makes it nice and tight. However, I feel that the tree is rising up as well. But it means the rocks in the bottom of the pot are really well packed it in so that the roots can grow into that and be really set. Okay, maybe I need some a little more sand piece here, just for the top. One more. Big dog right here. Big dog with no roots left. If I can get this to bend down, then it would be beneficial for the tree, ultimately. Same with those. So I have to decide how much of the tree I want buried, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to slam this all the way to the bottom of the pot, and I'm going to start putting rocks in and let it naturally just pick itself up out of the pot to decide how much of the tree wants to be, how much of the trunk wants to be buried. This is the tree that has that side root right here. And I absolutely want to have that side root exposed halfway. And so I can tell already that this is too low. So I'm gonna poke this in and let it pick up. So as I push the soil down, I'm slightly pulling the trunk up, and it's assisting with that. What that's also doing is it's causing the roots to be in a down direction, minus this one here. I'm just going to cut this root off. There's no reason for this to poke up. Okay. There's a lot of rocks. That's why. Need some finer soil. Just for the top. Okay, that root is right there. And I think through time, we'll just expose a little bit more. All right, I'm gonna get these watered. This one came out nice. I like this one. It's got a lot of character to it. Look at that. This was the large pot with the exposed root. Here's the exposed root. It's a nice flush on it. Kind of long growth, however, I think this can come over. Just stop here. These leaves are green right now. I'm not sure why just this tree is green. It's got a ways to grow. You can see the trunk is real small. And then the tiny little spots that I have